All right, it is the Fantasy Trash Talk channel. We are live in a $500 draft. If you like the NBA, if you want to win fantasy basketball, go ahead and hit that smash, subscribe, like. You're about to watch me spend $500 real dollars. And this guy, we're already jumping in. It's auction style, and Victor Wembanyama is already $75. We'll be alternating between talking about strategy, looking at the draft board. If you want to win an auction draft, which is hard mode, and this Wembanyama price, I've seen him go as high as $83, and he's already at $79. And there's two players. It only takes two in an auction draft. If I say, I love you, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And you say, no, I love her more. And we're going to find out who wants the alien. We're at $82 and climbing. This is not a 20-team draft. This is a 2-team draft, and the Wembanyama price is way too high. $83. God damn if that doesn't get your blood pumping. We are playing fantasy basketball here at the Trash Talk channel. I will not yell the entire time. I just want to get the energy up right now. We're probably going to be here for an hour and a half. My name is Josh Stramiello. I'm a sometimes fantasy basketball player and analyst, full-time comedian, full-time lawyer. I'm just going to say that Wembanyama price, it's not that it's too high, right? It is too high. It's that how do you build a whole team? This happened last year with Nikola Jokic, as we see Halliburton at 46, 47. I think anything under 50 is going to be a great price for Halliburton, but right now, I want to let a couple picks go by unless there is something criminally cheap. Looking at some of the players in the draft, these guys are all good. Patrick is a player I played against before. He's a diamond level player. I think Patrick is a subscriber to the channel. I've seen him in the comment section before. What up, Patrick? He's good, tends to do well-rounded teams, if I remember correctly, and punts, assists a lot. So we'll keep an eye on Patrick because we know about him. I think there's also a guy in here that uses Pokemon. Yeah, 6'3" Flareon is a good player. He's in the 1 slot. Definitely a guy that I've seen happen multiple times. James Harden is interesting. We've seen two things happen over the last 5 days. We've seen the hype for James Harden go up, up, up to the moon. We've seen Kawhi Leonard get rejected faster than someone with braces and acne, trying to get a guy to go with her to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Here's the thing about Harden. He is on the wrong side of 34, 35 years old. He's as old as me. That's old. I never get picked first in pickup basketball. He's had multiple injuries. And this is a guy that doesn't take care of himself. James Harden, there's been Reddit posts about him where he's literally, you can map his performance based on the strip clubs that are in your town. So at 39, I don't think we saw a crazy price for Harden. And he goes to Flareon, so we're going to monitor that. But I just think more usage, Harden having a bigger role, is that going to be a top 12 or 15 fantasy player? I think so. Is he able to play a whole season? I think not. Joel Embiid's price is super interesting here. We already know Embiid's not going to play back-to-backs. Goes for 36. If you guys are fans of this channel, you know that Joel Embiid is my least favorite player in the NBA, and I'm philosophically opposed to him. But at $36, I'd have to ask myself if I really hate it. I'm noticing that there's a couple players that, including myself, because I've been mostly talking to you guys, there's a couple players who I don't even think have made a bid yet. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that haven't purchased a player yet. One thing is you don't want to get stuck. If the prices are all just a little cheap early, you don't want to get stuck overpaying in the mid rounds. And we see that happen a lot. Zion is very healthy. He looks poised to have a big year. I'm a Zion denier. Mostly because of the fact that I don't think a guy can play that hard, jump that high, be that thick. Even a skinny Zion is still thick, and maintain health. I don't think we're going to get Zion at 17. I think, oh no, someone save me. Yes, thank you. This is where I can brag and say that I'm a highly defensive player. Bidding those players up for $1, $2 more, that really matters later in the draft when really good top 100 players are dollars. Auction has its own strategy, which is very different from Snake. The sizings of your team, the constructions of your team. It might feel like we've already missed out on a lot, but look at that. Only 5 players off the board. And of those 5 players, 3 of them we really dislike. And one of them was probably overpriced. So there we go. We're sticking to our guns. Luka, I would project Luka for going 54 to 56 based on the fact that Halliburton went for 50. It's interesting. Last year, it felt like there were 5 to 7 players that you could see hit $60 in an auction draft. And now this year, I feel like $60 is some magical number where most drafts I'm not seeing players hit it other than Joker and Wemby, occasionally SGA. We'll see if Luka can hit that $60 threshold. I don't think that Luka forces you to punt at all, and Luka goes above 60. I just feel like I don't think Luka has another gear on a Mavs team that they're going to care about the regular season, but this is a team that is constructed to try to have to feel like with a long summer and a lot of I have to feel like Luka cares more about the playoff season, and I don't know if he has. So like in the high 50s, I think that he's a fair price at 64. It's tough. It's tough. I should have done this. I'm just going to be transparent that I hadn't. I should know what Yahoo. This is my first Yahoo Public League, so I have not even looked up playoff schedules. I'm just not going to worry about that. If I draft a good team and it turns out that I have a player 8 weeks, 9 weeks that has a problematic playoff schedule, I can usually trade that guy or dump. It's just fighting to make the playoffs. They don't care about playoff schedule if they're not. Giannis attempt a free throw is up. I've seen his price go all over the place. I've seen him go as high as fourth in a snake. Fourth in a snake would equate to like $58 to $62. I've seen him go as low as $42. Giannis's price is crazy. What's interesting here from a strategy is how many players made I'm comfortable winning him. So at 50, Marcus is in on Giannis in a way to where he's saying, I'm actually willing to buy it. I'm not just looking. TBD ends up getting him. What we want to do is we want to keep an eye on Giannis to see if for a punt free throw build, we want to see if the Zion player is going for a punt free throw build. It looks like he's grabbing all of the, and we want to definitely keep an eye on Luka. That's 3 possible players that could all be going of. I really like this. So I think throwing Joker out with a $74 starting nomination, not only does it slow or speed up the draft where we have less time, but now you really get to see who wants Joker. At 75, I think it's a completely appropriate price. In fact, you could even say he saved a few dollars. Kawhi is interesting. I just did a video with Jake earlier today. In fact, if you check out the channel, Jake's video probably dropped yesterday where we talked about Kawhi in depth. I think Kawhi is very overpriced. And so we're going to come in and we're going to bid $8 and we're going to see who is in on the Kawhi. Kawhi is out indefinitely. I think it could mean that he's out for the entire season. The Bing is the player that owns Joel Embiid and Zion. He might be just going for an all injury risk strategy. Now, one thing about Yahoo Public, which is really going to hurt Joel Embiid, is it does not have an IR plus. We get Kawhi for $10. Guys, I think that is incredible. Even if it ends up being 0, we take Kawhi, we put him on our ING spot. That means that's another chance at a waiver wire player that we get. The upside is too high. Kawhi is not out for 6 months. He's not out for the season. He's out for an indefinite period of time. If you can get Kawhi in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of your snake draft, if you can get Kawhi for $15, nay, I would even say maybe $18 and under in an auction draft. Based on the information we have right now, I'm buying it. That's my take here on this channel. You're going to have guys that say he's do not draft. Any player is draftable at the right place. We just got Kawhi for 10 when someone paid 36 for Joel Embiid. Someone paid a 4th round draft pick more for Kawhi to get Joel Embiid. And we know for certain that Joel Embiid is at least not going to play back-to-backs. We do not know that for certain with Kawhi. All right, I'm going to nominate a player. Now, remember, guys, I always nominate players that I don't want because I want to see the price go sky high. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to nominate Karl Anthony Towns. This is a player that I think has been a little overhyped. I just saw him go for, what was the price? I can't remember the price. He went for too high in Jake's draft. I just think there's too many mouths to feed on the Knicks. They're a team that is more offensively gifted than the Timberwolves were last year, and Karl Anthony Towns is not exactly toughness. So I think it's going to be a long year for Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks. Very good, but I think that from a fantasy perspective, for the team to be very good in real life, we're going to see their stat down a little. So yeah, Karl Anthony Towns is not a player that I'm going after hard. I like Lauri Markkanen, who's another player that I think is, and in fact, I think I'm building the strategy for this draft. I think this draft is going to be about the guys that I just think are crazy undervalued. Kevin Durant jumps to the top of that list. Lauri Markkanen, Kyrie Irving. These are guys that the hype train has hurt them. The hype train has left the building. Analysts are against them, and because of that, we don't see too many players picking them up. I guess I could make an argument using that logic that I should pick up Anthony Davis as well, especially for this price. Let's see if we can get Davis for 52. See what happens there. We're bidding against, who are we bidding against? SA, the player that has Wembanyama. I would be happy to let AD go to the Wembanyama team because that's going to be a team that struggles to score enough. So Eric's neat team has Luka Doncic. We're going to bid one more time. Very happy to get Anthony Davis at 53. We're basically just going to need one of Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard to be playing in a week, and it's like we have our first rounder. I'm going to let him go. I don't think the Wembanyama player is going to be able to finish out the rest of his roster. He only has $63 left. I would imagine he's forced into punting. And if you're punting points last year, this is where it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to pull up the filter and I'm going to explain why I think if you're paying that much, Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic don't fit. Okay, so if you triple punt, points, threes, and free throw, which I think is necessary. I'm going to pay attention out of the corner of my eye to Steph Curry here because I do think he's being slightly. So Wembanyama last year was the 7th best player with a Z-score of 0.83. But Daniel Gafford was one slot ahead of him in pump points at 0.84. So spending $83 on Wembanyama, you now do not have enough money left to put scoring around Wembanyama. So the fact that Wembanyama could average 27, 29 points per game this year, you're not taking advantage of that because you don't have enough money left for you, okay? Anthony Davis, one of the strong points of him is he's going to give you 25, 27. But Wembanyama and Anthony Davis, that's not going to be enough scoring with $63 left for you to be competitive. Now, I really like Trae Young. I've spent as much as $53 in an auction draft on Trae Young. So I'm just going to kind of hang around and make a few bids on Trae Young. DeJounte Murray is not on that team anymore. Trae Young has a lot of targets this year. It's weird to me that everyone is super high on Jalen Johnson, but that energy does not transfer to Trae Young. Now, the James Harden owner was willing to go to 39 on James Harden, and he's currently bidding against me for Trae Young. So I would expect him to have a few more bids in him. No, he lets Trae go. We get Trae for $36. I think that is an incredible price. Trae Young has the potential to be a first rounder this year without having to share that usage. Murray. I'm not saying he is a first rounder. He has, and even in a down year for Trae Young, you know his assists are going to be through the roof. I'm going to pull up StatMuse right now, and I'm going to ask it a question. So I'm asking for Trae Young stats in games without DeJounte Murray. All right, well, maybe I'll try ChatGPT. I haven't cross-referenced ChatGPT, like how strong it is. Trae Young stats last year without DeJounte. See if ChatGPT can do that. I've never tried to ask it organic questions like that. Wow, okay. During the 22-23 season, Trae Young played 6 games without DeJounte Murray, averaging 26 and 11. That is, I'm asking it about got LeBron James out there. I don't know if ChatGPT is right, but it's saying in 23-24, in 4 games without DeJounte Murray, Trae averaged 25 and 11. That is wild. 25 and 11 is wild. That's a first round. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We paid a very cheap price. We paid less than Steph Curry for Trae Young. We paid less than Jason Tatum for Trae Young. We're very happy with that. LeBron's out here for 27. Per game, he's probably going to smash that, but this is a 40-year-old man. We now see Giannis and LeBron James on the same team. Remember, team builds matter. We're not in a team build. We're literally just, right now, we're just going for the players that we think are underpriced. We're still looking at Kevin Durant. We're still looking at Kyrie Irving. We're still looking at Lauri Markkanen. And honestly, we have $154 left. I think we could afford all 3. And as long as we save enough money that we have $2 available for each draft slot draft, we do like Donovan Mitchell at these prices. I think I just want to play defense on Donovan Mitchell. I think a lot of guys, 34 will run. Who are we bidding against? We're bidding against Patrick. Patrick he usually punts assists. 36. Guys are scared at 36. We like Donovan Mitchell at $36. We like him a lot. We have $118 left. I think we have enough money to get Lauri, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin. Still have $2 to $3 left for the rest. And okay, so here's Kyrie. We really want to get Kyrie in the 33 and under range. 33 and under, 35. We could go to 35. Based on how many guys are bidding, I'm not certain that we're going to get him under 35, but we're here for it. Just beat Patrick for Donovan. I wonder if Patrick knows who I am. There's a non-zero chance that Patrick is just bidding up my players. Hawaii has Tyree. We're willing to go to 35 for Kyrie. Hawaii Aloha is a Halliburton. So the next bid will be 35. I'm gonna bid one more time. So 36 is my out now. I'm changing it because I make up the rules. We really want 34. Let's go. Kyrie Irving. Remember, the theme of the draft that we're building is guys that are undervalued, risky players, injured players. Kyrie can get hurt. Kyrie could tweet something. But every game he plays last year in a non-punt setting, Kyrie Irving was the 9th best player in basketball. If you did not, we got him for $36, which value kind of like a third round, somewhere between end of second, early. In fact, we will not have first round money. We will not be spending first round. We have $84 left. We want to be getting Kevin Durant, Lauri Markkanen, and then we're going to be able to kind of relax, take a break, and yeah. $14 for Jimmy Butler. No, we're not going to let that happen. Getting Jimmy for like under $22, Patrick and Bing. Now, Matthew has not bought a player yet, and Vincent has not bought a player. I'm willing to take Butler here to have $20 more, and then I'll swap out one of Lauri or Kevin Durant. Yeah, we'll take this all day. All right, we get Jimmy Butler for $20. Last year in no punt, Jimmy Butler was not in a contract year. He was the 28th player per game. We have to think in a contract year he plays a little harder, a little better. He gets to the 25th player, but we only paid $20. Meanwhile, Zion Williamson, a player with an even higher injury rate than Jimmy Butler. Zion, 111th best player. These things add up, right? It's not about being right on every bet. It's not about being right about Jimmy and right about Kawhi and right about Kyrie. It's that if you add all three of them up, Kyrie and Jimmy is 54, and you add Kawhi, that's $64. If one of them plays like a first rounder, I'm looking for a player I don't want to nominate. I think Paolo. I think it's Paolo. Nominate Paolo Banchero. I think he's way overhyped, certain and up, and I'd be able to match it. Last year, Paolo was the 159th best player, 35 minutes per game. Now, I think his field goal percentage could come up. I really do. I think his assists could come up. His turnovers could go down. But I don't think prove 7 out of 9 categories. Prices that we've seen Paolo Banchero go for require him to improve 7 out of 9 categories. We already see that Paolo is going to go for as much money as Jimmy Butler. And again, Jimmy Butler was the 29th best player in per game last year. So I personally would rather have a guy proven to be a top tier player versus a guy who has different kind of. Every year you see players going, oh, these guys are, you see drafters, managers going, oh, well, this guy is young. Oh, I just realized that all three of us have a fire Neo 5. Vincent has not gotten a player yet. And now I think Vincent has waited too long, and I'll talk about this too. I really like nominating Paolo here because he's already up to $24. I just don't be able to. So Paolo goes to the Anthony Edwards owner. These are two guys, Paolo and Anthony Edwards, I've been pretty low on. They're young. They're going to play a lot of games, so they're going to be helpful in terms of totals. Hopefully, right? Knock on wood. You can't predict which players are going to get hurt. Domantas Sabonis. To me, Sabonis is a $45 player. I think there's enough guys out here with a clear punt in mind. As we see the Giannis owner bid on him, Flareon bid on him. I would expect to see Sabonis go north of based on how good he, and we see it, right? The Zion owner, the Giannis owner are both bidding. Interesting that the Luka owner has been relatively silent. He's been holding. We have $64 left. I wonder if $64 is enough to get Durant and Markkanen. I saw Durant and an industry analyst. Durant went for $30 early. We get Durant for $30 and we get Lauri Markkanen for $27. That would leave us with $7 for 6. Not enough to hold 2. We're only going to get one of Durant or Markkanen, and it's probably Markkanen. And we will have a little bit of money left in the tank to get, but we're going to have 5 core players in Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, and Lauri Markkanen. I think the average outcome when those guys are healthy is that they're all playing like second. My analysis on Brunson is the same as my analysis on Cat. I think the Knicks are too talented. And they have to. 33 is a fine price for him. I mean, you're paying a little bit below Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell. Durant already goes to 30. Durant was the 12th best player. Who am I bidding against? Eric. We let Durant go. If we can get Lauri Markkanen for 28 and under, I really think that extra $7 of going Lauri, I think that's going to really matter here. There's a risk on both, right? There's a risk with Lauri that he gets shut down. There's a risk with Durant that he gets hurt. 37, 38 years old. Here we go. Lauri, it's serious. 4 players immediately bidding. Still 1 player out there. Last year, Lauri was the 13th best, almost identical to Durant in per game. Oh man, guys, this team is going to be so good. This team is going to be so good, and it's got so many redundancies. I mean, wow, I'm really happy with this team right now. We are 6 players in. We have $39 left. Wow, I'm very happy. This is the best draft that I think well, I mean, I don't want to say it's bad. I have one more draft. Wow. Okay, guys, what is the story of this draft? We just selected players that there's a anti-hype, anti-narrative. And yeah, I'm going to send a text of this to my friends group, see what their immediate reactions are. But yeah, very happy. Another reason why I think Kawhi is underrated this year is he's not suspended. This is not like a Miles Bridges. He's going to start ING. When he starts ING, you can move him immediately. He's a stash player. You move him to your injured slot, and now you get an extra draft pick. Now you have the ability, when other teams don't, to add a player earlier that has a couple good games. Last year, Jalen Johnson broke out early in the season, but a lot of guys weren't prepared to add him because they didn't have a roster. So for us, we're going to have an extra roster slot at the beginning of the season. We might end up cutting Kawhi. But I think for me, as a serious, experienced player, I think that I can turn that extra waiver wire spot after 3 or 4 weeks of fishing the wire. I can turn that into a $5 or $7 player. I can find a guy who's going to be top 100 value rest of season just by using that waiver wire slot and turning it over when other guys don't have the ability. Cade Cunningham goes for 21. That's a fair price for Cade Cunningham. That is not overhyped. I think that's perfectly fine. No, I've been anti-Cade on this channel when Cade was going as a second, third rounder with nothing proven. Last year, Cade showed a lot of improvement, and I think the Pistons have improved their team. I think his assist numbers come up. I think his turnovers could go down. I think Cade is going to return positive. This is the first positive thing I think I've ever said about Cade. At $21, I think that player is going to get a positive return. All right, let's talk about sizing, okay? So it's helpful to look at average bid. We have seven slots available, and we have $5.6 per player. So we're going to try to keep in this theme of undervalued guys. I think we want Porzingis. I need to confirm that Yahoo Public. I should know this cold, guys. I need to go into the draft lobby. Okay, so if it's 3 IR slots for Yahoo Public, we're definitely going to add Porzingis or another stash. If it's 2, I think that we'll avoid it. The reason for that being, with the kind of guys we've drafted, we can expect another player besides Kawhi and Porzingis to get hurt. And I don't want to be carrying a dead roster spot or forced to drop a player that I've invested capital. So let's see if there's another guy that fits this narrative of like seriously undervalued production. Jarrett Allen might be that guy. Miles Bridges. I personally like Nick Claxton, but I don't trust the Brooklyn as far as I can. Oh, Zubac. We are just super high on Yahoo Public 2-center league. So we definitely want to make sure we have I feel really good about getting Zubac. A little money for Rishashar. Really like Isaiah Hartenstein is only injured with a displaced non-shooting hand. So you would think he could come back strong. And we get another pressure. We like Gafford. If anything ever happens, Reed, Kobe White. We like a lot of guys in this price. Trey Murphy, years under. Simmons fits really well when you're punt field goal percent. Once you get down to like the Gary Trent Juniors, I've seen them go on. Probably don't need. At $39 left, I think we can afford to get one more mid-tier guy, still get the guys we want. So it might be Jarrett Allen. I think we're in on one of Jarrett Allen or Miles Bridges. Now, Jake loves Tobias. Okay, who's a player I really don't want? I really don't want Bradley. Confirmed 3 IR spots. So we're going to do one more stash. So that's either going to be Porzingis or Hart. And that's going to leave us with an IR spot. All right. So the player who had all that money, he's now bought his first player, which is a $37 LaMelo Ball. I like it for a couple reasons. I like it because it's more expensive than any one player that I got. Sometimes players wait too long to spend their money. And when I look at the first slot 6'3" Flareon and I look at Vincent here, I think that they're going to be bidding against each other for some of the limited talent that is left. And we see right here, I say that Flareon at 25 and then Vincent comes down at 27 and now they're bidding against each other. I do not know why the Nikola Jokic owner, who has Halliburton as well, I don't know why he's bidding. I do not think he's going to be able to put enough scoring players. To me, it feels competitive. If he tries to stay competitive, and I think he's going to be in trouble. Patrick also has $145, and he so far has Karl Anthony Towns and Bam. I don't hate the value that he got for either players, but we're going to see this thing. Look at this. So when I go down to average money spent, we have Chet, Dame Lillard, Sengun, Tyrese Fox. Like there's like 10 guys here. Actually, let's say there's 14 guys here that have an average value of $20 and up. But when we go over here, there's only 3 players on Patrick's team, only 2 players on Flareon, and only 1 player on Matthew and Vincent. This is the time that these guys have to bid. There's now 4 players that have to start acquiring players right now. Like they can't wait longer. Otherwise, you're going to have $150 left and it's all $10 players and you only have 10 open slots. Are you just going to make an entire team of $10 players? I think not. And we see Vincent, he bids $26 for Dame Lillard. That is an incredibly fair price. I don't have a problem with that at all. I would say that has a lot of upside, especially if you end up punting field goal percentage. And with a LaMelo Dame combo, I think it's safe to say that Vincent is on his way to doing a centerless build or punting field goal percentage. Let's keep track of if the LaMelo Lillard guy ends up in a fight with the Tyler Hero Harden guy because they have similar punts. We are not really punting anything except I guess you could say we see a big battle for Chet Holmgren, especially with Hartenstein injured. Chet's going to have a really good start. $38 is a very fair price for him. Last year, Chet was the 20th best player. You would assume that he could improve on that a little bit just based on his age, the removal of Josh Giddey, the early injury to Hartenstein. It's really Chet's world to operate. I do have some concerns about Chet's body, about his build and his ability to stay healthy over a full, but it's not so much. And you see here, we have the most players. Our team is the most set. We already have 6 guys and we know we're going to be sliding one to the IR slot. So, I like where we're at. Another player, the Bing, has $69 left. The Bing is a guy that has Cade at a fair price, Paul George at an okay price, Brunson at a fair price, Zion at an okay price, and Joel Embiid. This is a team where when he's healthy, the Bing is going to be very strong. I would argue he's even more. I would also argue that he fit together as well. As we see Quickly going for $23 here. You see, this is the point of the draft where Quickly has an average of 16 project, and now we're probably going to see someone overpay for Quickly, and it's Vincent, who only has 2 players, and now Vincent has to get this guy. There's not that many good players left for Vincent to get. Hawaii comes in and bids again. I don't know how you think you have Nikola Jokic and Halliburton, and you think Quickly is going to be your 3rd best player, and you only have $49 left. He's not going to be able to score enough. Hawaii is not a good player. This is not a good draft for him. This is how you ruin Nikola Jokic. Spend 75 and then you can't put enough scoring around it. All right, Hartenstein is on the board. This is a guy that we like. We're going to try to get him. So we're in on this, and we're going to be, conscious of who we're bidding against. Eric is the Luka Ja own. He's definitely going to value Hartenstein if he's punting free throw percentage and threes. Let's just make sure that he spends over $10. Happy after. Last year, Hartenstein was only the 75th best player, but we think on the Thunder in a full year of starting, that he would be a lot better. Also, if you look at date range, right, Hartenstein became the starter. Going to StatMuse to look that up. Yeah. As a starter last year, Hartenstein averaged basically a double. He's a very different player. Splitter coming. We got him at $9, bringing our average spend per player only down to $5. We still have $5 per player left. I think we can walk away with Porzingis. Although if we do Edey and Porzingis, I need to look up the Harden. So it'll be 5 to 6. He's going to miss the first 5. It's an injury to his nonchalant. He'll be reevaluated. Do I think I'm good enough, especially with like an early Lauri Markkanen playing? Do I think I'm good enough to take a third stash and have no IR? We'll see how the rest of it goes. Fred VanVleet at 30. That makes us feel really good about our Donovan Mitchell at 30. Flareon, who we said might be in the Matthew only has one player at this point. And so if you're doing Snake, VanVleet's going in the end of the third. And if you're doing Snake, you're usually seeing a second rounder out of, sometimes a first rounder out of Trae Young. But you're now paying more for Fred VanVleet than you did for Trae Young because you have too many players we were afraid of. Guys, if you're still watching this far in, throw a watermelon in the comment section just so I can know that you guys appreciate this type of. I love you guys. I'm really busy this year. I plan on doing 15, 20 drafts again next year. I'm trying to make it as a small business owner and a lawyer. I don't have a job right now, so it's just a lot of hours of work, and I'm doing less fantasy, but it's not that I don't like fantasy. That watermelon means a lot. You're talking like a mad 5 minutes. This is another example, right? Rudy goes 20 average. You got guys that are hard committed to a punt. The Giannis owner has to have Rudy, but now also this Zion owner feels like he has to have Rudy, or maybe he's just calling the bluff of the Giannis owner. $23. A lot of centers out there this year. Expect Sengun to go for at least 30. He could go as high as 33, 34. The hype cycle on real. I want to see from an average spend standpoint, how many teams do we have? We only have more money than one guy average. So we're going to have to be really, really let all of these slots fill. Like that's a lot of slots. Like a lot of gray is going to have to fill in for us to have an average stack again. But I really like the individual value of the player. Flareon still only has 2 players. There's 3 team players. You got to wonder like how long, and they're bidding against, how long can you wait to get good players? Like your third best player is going to be Zach LaVine. For one of these teams, their third best player might be Zach LaVine. Okay. Who do we garner? I feel like Darius Garland heavily bid on guard style of 3 Flareon, who just bid on, and Vincent. I suspect that Vincent and Vincent hasn't bid yet. We have Tony's quality. He looks like he's very guarded. I just want 2 people bidding. I don't want Garland going at it. Great. This is great. He's already above his average value by $2, $3. It keeps going. I want the money off so I can get the players that I want, and I didn't want Garland. And now the third best player, honestly, the second best player, I think that Garland is better than Hero. We have Harden, Garland. That's a crazy. Tyler Hero is your third best player, and we are far into this draft. We have very few even third rounders or fourth out there. It's like we're in third round, fourth round territory. So, 6'3" Flareon with $140 left is going to be able to build a very deep team. But I question that for a lot of reasons. One of them, he's not going to be able to really play the waiver wire. It's the kind of team that almost always makes the playoffs, but almost never has a bye because it just lacks top tier talent. It lacks roster flexibility. Better players that is left. Bidding more for Wembanyama player is going after to stay relevant. Wembanyama, what I would call a buttload, 13 player draft spots back. Also, look at this. Most of the players that we like have a project below $5, so we could end up walking away with Colby White, Herb Jones, Dan Gafford. That is a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen. That could happen. I think we're willing to completely clear out injury slot by adding Porzingis as well, or a Trey Murphy here. I like how many players wires on off of the waiver wire. That this draft is early enough. Set rosters, add a waiver, and get a player before week Tobias Harris at 11. Great role on the, and we already know that Tobias isn't a star, but he's a solid starting caliber player. And Cade Cunningham did not have many solid starting caliber players. Okay, here's Porzingis. Get Porzingis for 6. Guys, our IR slot is going to be overflowing, and we still have about $5 left per person with a lot of guys out there. What is the most we could bid and keep $2? So take 10, no, so there's 5 slots left, so take $8 off. So 6 the most we could bid and still have $2 left for each player. $20 for Jalen Johnson is incredibly, very cost effective. I think it's because Flareon is definitely punting rebounds, but I'm not. We have 3 IR slots and we have 3 IR stashes. Hartenstein, Kawhi Leonard. Porzingis probably won't be back till January or February. He's the biggest risk here. I would expect Hartenstein back by like week 4, week 5. And then Kawhi is a complete question mark. He could miss the whole season at $10, but let's add all of it up, right? Actually, let's not. Let's just look at Porzingis and Kawhi. What are the chances that one of Porzingis or Kawhi is playing during, I'm going to say 60% that one of those two players is playing, and I bid $16 to get both of them. We'll take Jeremy Grant as a $2. Let it go. We'll bid 3 just because I want someone to bid for. I don't necessarily. There we go. Bump it up. That was a completely defensive move. He wasn't on my queue, not on my radar. I obviously think he can score, but if I'm afraid of the Brooklyn Nets tanking, I'm definitely Brooklyn. He out there. I don't have a single. I doubt him. There's still have 5 slots left. Patrick is the other Patrick one. Like our team versus Jaylen Brown. He is running out of money. And you might think, oh, he still has $47 left. Yeah, but he's only bought 5. A lot of love for Brandon. Yeah, I think Jamal Murray is cooked. Really bad. Visibly doesn't look good down on. Start to see the big stack. And so it's Matthew and it's Flareon. And as long as one or the other doesn't want that player, I just don't know if Jaren Jackson's going to get good depth. Still has 9. It just feels so good having some money left and also having the core of your with 8 players. And I can't really put too much stock in this, right? Because my players are hurt. But can put stock. We're at 490. Haven't really that we're going to play with. We have the second best free throws. Number 1 threes by a mile. That'll come down. Start to catch up. I love to see Jaren Jackson. Who got Vincent gets Jaren Jackson. LaMelo, Dame Lillard, Zach. It's a nice $5 left. They're all second tier guys. LaMelo's the only guy that Jalen Williams probably going to over. For the guys with upside at this part of the draft, I think we're going to go over. And I don't mean overpriced value, but based on average value, we saw some guys go $4 or $5 under. And we're at that point of the draft now where there's limited players that everyone has on their list go $3 or $4 over. Still a lot of money left. Still a lot of rosters. I don't think we need to play defense on Giddey. These guys are going to, Giddey pairs really well with Joke. SGA, Tate. I think that's a fun. Revitalized Kitty 12 to Franz Wagner. I think he goes for a lot of teams are still trying to compete in points. He's one of the better versatile scorers out there. I like Zubac a lot. I really outperform that. Oh, Zach Edey. I like Edey a lot. I think we got a good price for Zubac. I think we could have gone over that. I think we're out on Edey. That makes me feel even better about the goes for basic. Zubac is a proven commodity that did really well in last year. Be up more of a target. Slots left. I also we didn't try. It's not really we kind of we soft punted the roster though. I guess Porzingis. We're basically a soft punt, but we're good enough to win it half 3 flare side. Some of these teams are going to end up hoarding guard team. This Harden over concentrated. I don't think we want crazy that we're 2 less players. Going to take a recording break. I'll kind of talk through what our team ended up being. Yeah, we'll just go from there. Incredibly happy. We ended up getting DeAndre Ayton for 11. I think he's very underpriced there. That left us with $1 to fill out our roster. And I think we got 3 guys that are basically going to be must roster this season. Al Horford, who's a good handcuff for Kristaps Porzingis, KCP playing a new role on a Magic team that are going to compete. And Osar Thompson has a lot of upside. I'll talk about some of the other teams though. First off, shout out to this team, Matthew. He had $36 left over, and that was after spending $12 on Trace Jackson Davis. He clearly was trying to pump points, but this is not the way you do it. You do not want one of your most expensive players to be Zach Edey, even though I think Edey is going to have a good season. I don't think he got enough assists. I don't think he got enough steals. Whatever ranking or projection system you're doing, look, you spent $46 on Sabonis. You had $36 left over. You could have turned Sabonis into Joker. You could have turned Walker Kessler into, JJJ or another defense. You had money. You do not want to not spend the money just because it's a bit of a disaster. What I like about our draft, I'll say one more thing, is we're going to get 3 extra draft picks because it's a public league. We're going to throw KCP, Kawhi, and Isaiah Hartenstein on the injured reserve list, and we're going to get to add some more players. Flareon ended up having a good draft. He over-concentrated assists a little bit, added too many players that are high assist, high turnover. So he's number 1 by a wide margin. We like that. Our team ended up being 3rd in field goal percentage, 1st in free throw percentage. So we're built to get a bye. We're going to wait for our team to catch up to be fully healthy. It might never be fully healthy, but that is the strategy. Talking about some of these other teams, We got a Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Paolo Banchero core, and then some decent mid-range depth after that, upside and Rishashir. I think this is like a B- team for Marcus, who also had $12 left over, if I remember correctly. Giannis owner went for a core that I really like. Actually, I think he got Jalen Johnson at 20 really cheap. Scotty Barnes at 36 was really cheap. And he was able to add some scoring while keeping that idea of punt free throw with players like Aaron Gordon and Clint Capella. The Bing went Embiid, Zion Williamson, Jalen Brunson, Paul George, Cade Cunningham. Big counting stats from the top 5, top 6. I like a lot of the players that he got later in the draft, specifically Bogdan and Dante DiVincenzo. This was a good draft. He's got a lot of upside. I think the problem is going to be with Embiid not playing back-to-backs. How do you compete in those Embiidless weeks, especially since you're going to be weak in threes and weak in free throw? Okay, we have a Halliburton Jokic owner. This was a bad draft. If you're spending $125 on 2 players, you probably have the rest of the way. Which is a similar situation to what so let's see, he went Wemby and Anthony, and then after that, did he get enough scoring with Maxey, Porter Jr., Kuzma? I don't think he did. Cam Johnson late helps. I think 5A, the Victor Wembanyama and Anthony Davis guy, is going to really struggle to score the ball, and it's going to kind of be a trickle down after that. We've got a team that I actually really like. I like what Vincent ended up doing. We've got LaMelo Ball, Dame Richard, Dame Lillard, Zach LaVine, and then just the depth kind of keeps going, right? We got Terry, last 3 picks. We got a SGA team, big 3 of SGA, Tatum, and Murray. Some mid-round depth. Andre Drummond doesn't really fit that. Again, art, very sexy, very hot. What am I going to call this build? That's a great question. I think I'm going to call this year's numbers. So by last year's numbers, which is a little unfair because we got Kawhi, right? We don't know if he's going to play, and we got KP. We're the number 1 by a mile. We can add 3 points, stream threes, and be competitive up until the top 3. We're right in the middle for points, which is where I like to be. We're basically the best rebounding. We're right in the middle on assists, and we're a little better than middle on turnovers. So yeah, guys, I love it. Let me know what you think. This was an auction draft. I got all the prices up there for you. Fantasy Trash Talk out.